Hello. All right. Me, can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
Sam, I'll let you kick off off since I don't have my camera on.
Well, we are uh, going into the week of Thanksgiving. So this week can be challenging for many reasons. Hard to be in a fat loss during this week. Hard with family, but also, I mean, really great and amazing.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions about specifically maybe how to navigate the holidays or anything that you're struggling with, feel free to add them to the chat and I'll ask them as we go. But for now, we do have a couple questions on that spreadsheet. So I am just going to start with that. But again, feel free to answer any or ask any questions in the chat and I will answer them. And if we don't get to them, I'll just answer them in the app. So the first question
Perfect.
is switching to maintenance the last week of the cohort a bad idea since we won't have the support we've had all along? Would you recommend doing it the week after Thanksgiving instead? So that one,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it really just depends for when you are ready to go to maintenance. Like if you feel like your biofeedback is subpar, like your workouts are mostly not great, they're mostly garbage. Your energy, like you're not sleeping well, your energy is super low, maybe your period is affected, maybe you're not as compliant. Like those, that would tell me like
mhm.
you need to do maintenance now. Like you don't need to wait until the last week, which is a little bit less than a month from now. I would do it now. But if you're still feeling really good, like maybe you take just a quick diet break this week because of the holiday, and then just progress until that last week of momentum, and then switch your calories to maintenance. It really just depends on how you feel. I mean, that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I would, yeah, I agree. I would do it less on like timing of coaching and more so on progress towards your goal and biofeedback, how your body's responding, how you're feeling, maybe what's going on in your life. And then we can give you maintenance calories. And then on that last call, we'll give some guidance too. We'll probably give your maintenance intake and then we'll give some guidance on how to reverse to that so that you feel comfortable doing that and you kind of have the tools to do that on your own. And then worst case scenario, if a month after the cohort ends, you want to do a macro consult, then that's something you can do anytime as well.
Or one-on-one
But I would
coaching.
probably,
Love for that.
yeah, for sure one-on-one coaching um would be amazing. But if like that's not in the budget and you want to just touch base and get some feedback, then we can always do a macro consult too.
Yeah, or a strategy call as well. Those are both really good options at a lower price point.
Yes. Yes. And
And then,
oh, one thing with that, I always will promote one-on-one coaching, but we won't be releasing to the public this until end of December, but I'm just thinking through timing. If you end and want to be in maintenance, but would also maybe want a future kind of macro consult, we will be doing our New Year's habit-based challenge in January. It'll be mid-January that's going to start. And I think we plan, it will not include nutrition, but we plan to do like 20% off or 30% off, a pretty good sale on macro consults during that time. So if you wanted to continue and focus on maintenance, that could be an option in January too.
yes. And then this question is actually about one-on-one coaching. So it says, for your one-on-one
Awesome.
coach, when you're one-on-one coaching, when should someone choose just nutrition versus nutrition plus coaching? I think she means nutrition plus training. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the
that's a good
benefit
question.
of doing customized both rather than just customized nutrition, but still following a program meant to meet our goals on our own? So, most of the people that choose to do one-on-one coaching and one-on-one training, because the one-on-one training, it's different than subscription. Subscription, we kind of build it for the masses. It fits most people. But unless you have like a specific goal you're reaching for, or maybe you're training for an ultra, or maybe you're doing a bodybuilding show, or maybe you have a lot of injuries and very, very minimal equipment, then one-on-one individualized training would be a better fit for you because the subscription, for example, you'd probably have to modify it quite a bit. And at that point, it would
Yeah.
probably just be better to be tailored specifically for you. So most of the people that want individualized training, they tend to be the ones that have a lot of injuries, or maybe they're like postpartum and just like very specific, I don't know, more specific goal. Ultra
Yeah.
people running or like have a maybe a different kind of goal, like an athletic goal. A lot of
Mhm.
people like in the military, maybe if they have a specific, again, test that they have to train for. Um, or some people just like it to be specifically. I have one client that just wants it to be specifically tailored for her. And then so that's a good option. But most of our clients like to do subscription programming paired with nutrition coaching because
Yes.
they don't need
Yeah.
all the modifications. They don't need the
And
specifics.
and I think if you haven't tried HF Physique, then I would assume everyone here has, obviously. But if you haven't, then starting there and then determining like, do you have more specific needs beyond that? Then one-on-one custom programming could be a good option. But otherwise, there's so many ways to um, kind of adjust HF Physique to your needs that our hope is it fits for most people's needs so that they can just take advantage of the nutrition coaching and pair it with HF Physique.
Okay, next question. How to get back on track when you feel off track? And then there's another question, follow-up question after that. So
I
first
think
question
just,
is, yeah, to get back on track.
yeah,
You just gotta do it.
yeah, I just make a plan. I like to write down a plan and not write down 75 things that need to happen, but like 5 things, like think in buckets of movement, diet, lifestyle. And so what are 1 to 2 things you can do in each of those categories to help build some momentum for you? I love, walking. So like, can you get in a 20-minute, can you start with a 20-minute walk in the day? That's going to help with energy. That's going to help alleviate stress. That's going to help if you're outside, benefit your circadian rhythm, which is going to benefit like hormones. And just getting outside for a 20-minute walk can do a lot for you. And then 20 minutes of resistance training. Can you just do fit foundations? Do 2 sets of everything and get that in. And then on the diet side, protein and water. And if you want to just add to that, I would say a veggie goal, like having a protein goal, a water goal, and a vegetable goal are going to do wonders for you on honestly, like just making it so that everything is easier in terms of cravings, adherence, like to where you want to be goal wise, making sure you feel satisfied, making sure you feel consistent energy throughout the day, having protein with each meal, having a vegetable goal, like starting with 300 grams of veggies a day, 3 cups of vegetables. That's pretty easy to do if you're intentional with it. And then drinking 100 ounces of water. That's what I would recommend. And then on the lifestyle side, just, how can you eliminate stress? Is there anything you can do to cut cut down on stress? And is there any way you can optimize sleep? Those would be kind of the big buckets that I would focus on. And maybe not even all of them. Maybe you focus on one thing this week. It's just getting protein and veggies. And then next week you build on that.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't want to start again because it almost feels overwhelming, right? Like if you were on
Yeah.
vacation or in the holidays and you weren't really focusing on anything, it feels very daunting to like have to hit this specific goal and this specific goal. So just like getting away from like the expectations of yourself that you're going to be perfect. You're going to perfectly hit your protein goal. You're going to perfectly hit your calories and all your workouts. Like you have to just get away from that mentality because it's just, and instead, do something over nothing as your mentality. And then usually like in the gym too, like once you get moving, usually you kind of want to keep going. So I like to tell myself, I'll just do it for 10 minutes. If I still don't, I feel worn down, tired, I probably need to take a rest day. But if I feel more energized, and usually I do, then I keep going. And it's the same thing with other things. Like once you kind of just get into the groove of it and just, minimize, at least for me as maybe a perfectionist, but
Yeah.
if you minimize the expectations on yourself, like it doesn't feel as like overwhelming and daunting. So that would be my
Yeah. And I think too, like simplify, like just go to the grocery store, get some vegetables, get some, whatever you can do that's pre-prepped is going to save you time and energy. Like, how can you eliminate some of the decision fatigue that comes with implementing a new habit? Can you pair it with something else you're already doing? Can you get, yeah, maybe prepackaged, pre-chopped veggies aren't what you envisioned. Maybe envisioned roasting vegetables, but something over nothing. Like, how can you just get some veggies in? Maybe that's a can of green beans. Maybe that's some frozen vegetables. Instead of going to the gym and having an extensive training session, maybe it's 20 minutes of movement while you're making dinner and just doing some squats and doing some push-ups. Like, how can you just check the box in the categories that are going to really make you feel your best and help you build some momentum? It's all about building momentum, not about striving for perfection, because we all
Not gonna
have
happen.
very busy, dynamic lives. And I think perfection's really impossible for most clients we work with, and ourselves included.
I mean, yeah, it's not long term. Like long term, this that's just not gonna happen. You're not gonna be perfect long term. Like maybe for short term, maybe during this momentum
Yeah,
challenge, maybe you can be perfect that whole time. But long term, like it's just not gonna happen. So getting away from that and learning and working on that mindset now will be beneficial for you in the long term as well. Um, so I want to share one of her wins. She didn't gain too much over her non-tracking 10-day vacation. Um, only about
ooh,
only about 3 pounds, so she's feeling really good about that. She felt really comfortable in her swimsuit with improvements in her body composition and down 6 pounds.
that's awesome.
And then a follow-up question, she also had, if I drink LMNT twice daily, does this cause significant water retention and weight gain? Or am I just overeating? Laugh out loud. All this Thanksgiving food is making me ravenous. So, I mean, yes, sodium can cause water retention. But again, so can overeating, or if you're not used to eating higher carbs, or if you're extra sore, like there's
Right.
lots of reasons that you could be getting water retention. If you wanted to play around with it, then you could just start with one LMNT, see if you feel less inflamed, or pair the LMNT with a higher potassium. But the LMNT does have potassium in it as well. But if you pair it with like a higher potassium food, that could possibly help with water retention too, or just maybe sticking to 1.5 packs and kind of dialing it back and see, um, because everybody's going to be
I think,
different.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think a good rule of thumb with the LMNT is, do you feel like puffy? Do you feel kind of swollen? Because if you do, then you probably have a little too much sodium intake. I would cut that back. But if you feel great and LMNT is having your body retain a little bit more water, like that's not a huge deal. If the scale continues to increase, then I would say it's more likely coming from being in a calorie surplus. So I wouldn't stress out in the short term, but that's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't stabilize after a little while, then it would definitely be something that you should probably look into and play around with. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's, do you recommend blood work, especially if we aren't seeing the results we want? Any recommendations for hormone testing if we are in perimenopause? She is, oh, hang on. She's feeling frustrated with her body and not seeing the progress she wants. So, I mean, I always recommend blood work, at least once a year, if not twice a year or more, just depending on what your blood work looks like. Um, we can put the list of labs that we recommend in the group. So we can kind of show you the ones that we recommend. I mean, it's a really extensive panel. So it has, I mean, it's probably talking gibberish for a lot of you, but like a CBC, a CMP, and then it has all of your hormones. So like your DHA, your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, free testosterone. And then we also like to do a vitamin D, and then a few other things that aren't on normal blood work that maybe your doctor will pull. Usually they just like to pull a CBC and a CMP, which are great. It will have all your, red blood cells, white blood cells, hemoglobin, as well as, your cholesterol and your A1C and things like that. But we like to go a little bit more in depth because certain things can kind of affect other, variables. So we like to have a really bigger more broad picture. So whether I can post a link for that in the group, whether you decide to, you can just purchase on that using that link from Life Extension, and then you go to a LabCorp and get it drawn, or you can just have the list of labs. First, ask your doctor, can you please pull these for me? I am not feeling great. And then be very direct. Like, these are my symptoms. I do not feel good like myself. Can we please draw these labs? And if they say no, then I tend to just like to purchase them on my own. Can blood work affect I mean, it can affect results. Yes, many things can affect our results, but blood work would be I mean, it's always a good thing to look at because, yeah, maybe there's certain thing. Maybe your stress is too high, so you're really inflamed. So we need to, some of our stress markers like our cortisol and our CRP are really high and elevated. So maybe we need to dial that back. It's not necessarily the food and what you're eating, or you're eating too much or anything like that, but it's more like you're really inflamed and stressed and your body just needs more, to manage that stress better. And maybe that is a pause in eating more. And that could be another thing too to think about. Have you been dieting for a very long time? That can sometimes lead us to, again, not getting the results we want because we've never really taken a time to just focus on recovery, eating enough for our bodies to be able to manage all of its bodily processes in a more efficient way. What do you think, Michaela?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent for getting regular blood work
Yeah,
done.
I like that.
Yeah, I think I just love information. And I think from a preventative health standpoint alone, it's so valuable. We include blood work review for all of our one-on-one clients, and that's how important it is to us. So, that's something our clients take advantage of if they want to, and it's free of charge. Just because it tells us so much about what is going on in terms of diet, lifestyle, environment, and we can kind of really quickly, especially like this is only if we have really comprehensive labs. So the labs that Sam is referring to, you can have your doctor pull, or a lot of our clients, myself included, will just order it third party because it's really like an easy process to do on your own. And it's really, I wouldn't say easy, but our labs start to kind of paint a picture of what our life looks like. We can pretty quickly see like how much sunlight we're getting, maybe some of our sleep habits, some of our dietary habits, some of our stress, like kind of how much stress we're under, whether that's physically or emotionally. There's just a lot of things you can start to see when you see all of the data. Where if we have incomplete labs, it's like looking at one page in a book and trying to figure out what the book's about. If you have all the pages and the outline, it's really easy to quickly see what the book is about. And same with labs. And so for us as coaches, it's so awesome when clients are willing to get labs done because we can provide some really, really valuable feedback in terms of like dietary adjustments to make, maybe supplements to add, maybe lifestyle modifications, or some environmental things like even simple things like EMF. Not, I wouldn't say this is simple. This is more complex, but even things like EMF exposure, like putting your Wi-Fi on a timer at night, like different things, maybe not sleeping with your phone right by your head, cleaning up sleep hygiene, like how, and are you getting enough sunlight to support hormones? So there's just so much we can learn from labs. And usually when a client hears the feedback from looking at their blood work, it usually, like I would say 9 times out of 10, just kind of confirms some things that they already know to be true. So it's not like typically mind-blowing information, but more confirming things that you already felt or like noticed to be off, because we know our bodies really well. So it's nice to get that feedback and have a plan that helps create change, positive change, and just more pieces to the puzzle that we can use to solve whatever it is that's going on with you. I think perimenopause is a good time to do it too. Like hormones are changing. And I would recommend, just from a general health standpoint, early fall and early spring to be a good time, because early fall, we're coming off of the summer months. It's like kind of when vitamin D is going to be peaked, sex hormones are likely going to be peaked. A lot of things are going to be sort of like as optimal as we can get them at the end of summer. And so it's nice to see what our baseline is going into winter. And then at the end of winter, we're kind of as low as we're going to go. And so it's nice to see like what we need to do and what we can take advantage of over the summer months as well. So timing wise, I like to do like September and April, but if you haven't done that, then anytime is a good time.
That's all the questions. No
Well,
questions?
we could talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and just like game plan. Like Sam, what's your personal game plan for Thanksgiving this year? I think you're in maintenance. I don't know. You could just like talk a little bit about our own
I mean,
plans.
we aren't traveling and we don't have anybody coming, so it's obviously easier for me to stick or just to be more in control of like what's around.
Yeah.
But when I would travel or when I am around it more, then for me, I just do my normal routine in the morning. I don't, try not to I eat a meal high in protein, try to make sure I'm hydrated before having too much caffeine, go into it, semi well fed. And then for me, I like to just kind of always think about what I can add. How can I add protein? How can I add a little bit of fiber so I still feel semi decent after the meal? And then I like to look at my options. For me, I like to kind of say like what is like, yes, I have to have that. I missed,
What are your like favorite Thanksgiving foods?
well, I'm not a Thanksgiving. I am not the one to ask. My husband is all about Thanksgiving, all about everything. For
I
me,
love it.
I'm a dessert person. I like more of the Christmas meals. I'd
Oh,
rather have ham than turkey. So
yeah.
I'm more of a like a Christmas is my
Mhm.
my go-to. So I'm the wrong person to ask. Screaming casserole is probably my favorite thing, which is
Yeah.
odd, but I'm not like I don't know. I'm just
Which makes it pretty easy for you, right? Like you have probably, well, we're good examples. Thanksgiving is like my favorite holiday of the whole year because I love all the Thanksgiving foods. I like Christmas foods too, but not really. Like I mean, they're good, but Thanksgiving is like it's totally worth it to me to have everything on Thanksgiving. But I don't care for the desserts. I don't know, Thanksgiving
yeah, I'm the
dessert.
opposite. I'm a dessert person. Like I
Yeah,
would go for the apple pie or like an
yeah,
apple
no, I'm
crumble. That's my go-to. For me,
good.
I just like to like look at what my options are, which ones are like, heck yes, I have to have that. I add that to my plate first. And then the
Mhm.
ones are like, meh, it looks good, but if I'm hungry later, I'll try it. Like you don't have to have every single thing. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
I like to do. I like to weigh it out, set boundaries maybe around things, not necessarily like restrict or avoid or anything like that, but set
Mhm.
boundaries like you can have it later, like you don't have to have it all right now. And
Yeah.
the hardest part for me is probably the comments from other people. Um,
Yeah.
not so much anymore because I've established boundaries. They already know how I eat most of the time and they know I'm not going to try everything. But that was initially probably the hardest part for me. Like, just try this, just have a little bit. Or
Yeah.
as a person that has a history of like an eating disorder, thought comments around my body or like people saying, oh my God, I need to go on a diet after this. Like, it can just be like, I can leave it now. But like before, it was like,
Really triggering.
yeah, a little bit triggering. So really just sometimes setting boundaries around that too. Um,
Yeah. We did talk about that as a team earlier this week, because we had some client questions on that. And I think setting boundaries, it's so funny when you gather people together and you have a delicious meal that without fail, someone wants to talk about their diet that they're on. Or it's so funny to me too, like this is one day out of the year where we are likely, I mean, maybe not everywhere, but we're likely adding a lot of butter to things. Like we're really flavoring things with a lot of fat, and it's fun and it's delicious and it's one day of the year. And it's funny to me that a lot of times people, will want to like just talk about how bad the food is and, there are healthier options and whatever. And it's like, this is the time that you decided that you wanted to change your diet on this day of the year. So I think too, like going into that day, um, with whoever we had a client that was kind of trying to prevent that from happening with some negative food talk happening on Thanksgiving for her own mental health and for family's her children's sake. And so we were talking about ways to do that. But I think that just like even a simple like not needing to explain so much, but even a simple like, hey, let's just enjoy this meal. Like not, just kind of like shutting someone down. Like we don't really need to talk about that right now. Or even ahead of time. Like if you know someone's coming and that is how they talk and it's gonna affect your meal, like maybe even just saying something ahead of time in advance as well. Even
I do not like conflict,
I don't
so I would
either.
probably just somehow make a joke of it, like, dude,
Yeah,
like it's just one day, like I'm good, or just I kind of just like brush it off and just kind of like somehow make a joke about it. But
yeah.
I mean, but that's me. I don't like to have
I'm
you
kind
have
of
had
the
those
same
hard
way.
conversations. Like if it's somebody close to me, like like a parent or like a sibling or like a really close friend. But if it's like grandma's not going to change.
No.
Leave it. Or if it's somebody that you just know is a little bit more stubborn, they're not going to change. Like then I just kind of just like make a joke of it and just like brush it off. But if it's like somebody that's going to actually listen and like care, then I'll have the harder conversation.
Yes, I think that's true too. And I think also not needing to explain yourself to others when they ask you direct questions too. Like you don't have to explain yourself. You can just say, yeah, no, I'm just not eating that today.
I don't want to.
I don't feel great eating that.
I'll eat it later. I'll try some
Yeah,
later.
I might try some later. Thanks. No, thank you. Period. Easier
No,
said than
well
done
ended.
sometimes. But yeah, I know. So for us, we're traveling Wednesday till Monday. And so I'm also in a calorie deficit right now. Planning on enjoying my favorite meal of the year as well as leftovers on Friday. I love like a good turkey toast. So good. With some stuffing, probably. That's like my leftover meal that I
I
want.
like stuffing.
I love stuffing. But so I'm planning on like kind of having a plan for Wednesday when we're traveling. That's pretty easy for me. It's easy to get high protein foods at the airport. I probably won't even pack food because I know I can find vegetables. Salt Lake Airport is like amazing actually with food choices. We're flying into New Orleans, so maybe I will pack a little bit because when we get there, it's not going to be as many healthy options. But pretty easy. We're staying with family. And then I plan on having a high protein, getting some fiber and hopefully some veggies in for breakfast. Probably will stop at the grocery store on the way there, just so I have a little bit of control over my breakfast and lunch, and then eating as I enjoy on Thursday and kind of having the same plan probably for Friday. And then we're not traveling back home till Monday. So definitely planning to get in some exercise. We'll probably let family know in advance, like, hey, what's the game plan for tomorrow? I want to be at all the activities. Okay, we're starting then. I'm going to go on a walk early in the morning, or I'm going to get to the gym before anyone wakes up, or I'm going to have my kids all join together and do something with me and Craig. So like figuring out, how to compromise and make sure I can be a part of things, but then also taking care of myself so that I feel really good and can come home from the vacation going just like right into the next thing and feeling good, but also enjoying quality time. So I think thinking about what your goals are and what your intentions are for this holiday weekend and being flexible too, but then also being willing to set some boundaries and just let people know what your plan is, I think can go a long ways too. So ask away on the app if you guys have questions, and we're so excited to continue with all of you through December and hope you have the best holiday ever. Thanks for joining.